Hey, what's up YouTube? Bill Faulkner with Faulkner Custom Rods coming to you with another new product review video. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I absolutely obsess about finish and tried all kinds of techniques, all kinds of products, and have come to settle on a few. And most notably for applying finish to butt wraps, I like to apply at 200 RPM. And it just makes it so very easy to get consistent level finish, regardless of what brand of finish you're using, regardless of how big or small a rod you're trying to finish or how long the area you're trying to finish is. Having a 200 RPM motor to help you apply butt wrap finish, to me, is just absolutely essential equipment. And if you want to see how I use it, please watch my video on how to do butt wrap finish the FCR way, which I will post a link to at the end of the video. So up to this point, I've always used the 200 RPM motor, but that meant this. The FlexCoat GMSL 200 RPM finishing motor with slip clutch. And it's an awesome piece of equipment. Runs quietly, runs cool, literally built to last a lifetime. I bought mine from Lance Dupree at Swampland Rods, I don't even know how long ago, and it still runs like a top. The downside to this machine, the price. It's more than $400, and that's a lot of money for anybody, but especially if you don't build that many rods. But now FlexCoat has blown my mind and removed that objection by creating and releasing this, the FlexCoat variable speed DC power motors, for only $179.99 retail. And boy, is this thing ever worth the money. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through it. I've been using one of these for well over a year now, and I'm very confident explaining the features and the value and recommending it. Now, just to eliminate confusion, I should call out that the FlexCoat actually makes two of these. This variable speed DC gear motor, which retails for $179.99, as well as a dual control wrapping and finishing variable speed DC motor. They are the same piece of equipment. The only difference is the dual control wrapping and finishing machine has a foot control, a very good foot control unit, and can be used for power wrapping as well as applying finish. So what do you get with the DC variable speed motor? You get a unit that is completely assembled. You just have to plug it in and use it. That gives you absolute control from 40 to 200 RPMs. It also has the slip clutch, the FlexCoat slip clutch, so that you can stop it at any time and then just let it go. The tension on this is adjustable, and if you've never used one of these, it's the best of both worlds. It lets you go fast with 200 RPMs when you want, and it lets you stop on a dime and precisely apply finish in a specific spot. And it's as simple as just touching it and stopping it. This is a heavy-duty motor. It will easily turn big offshore trolling rods and all that kind of stuff. So it looks small, but it is not a lightweight piece of equipment. And as FlexCoat likes to talk about, it's built to OEM quality. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So what do you get for 179 bucks? You essentially get a machine that does everything the sort of pace car machine that set the industry standard does, the GM200, plus you get variable speed, you get an on-off switch in addition to the variable speed, which is really nice, and you get a very different price point. The GM200 is an unbelievable piece of equipment. You'll find them on manufacturing floors all over the country, but it's a $400 motor, and this one is $179, which is an awesome value. One other thing worth noting is FlexCoat is making these motors available in 3 different heights, and so you have a ton of flexibility in which one you get, and you can use it with other equipment. And so I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. I'm actually retrofitting it and using it on my Renzetti lathe, and it works great. So now that we've talked about the variable speed motor, let's talk about the dual control wrapping and finishing unit, which is the one that I've been using for the last year. This is how it comes out of the box. It is fully assembled, ready to use. You just plug it in and turn it on. And you can see we have variable speed motor like we have with the other, just dial controlled and can be turned off, which is a nice feature. And this one actually goes from 36 RPM all the way up to about 420 RPM, so a little broader range. It's instantly reversible at any speed. You literally just flip the reverse switch and it goes. I'm not sure how they did this. I know it's by virtue of it being a DC, not an AC motor, but this thing literally just reverses on a dime. I don't know if you can see it switching. I put a piece of tape on the chuck so you can see it, but it's just instant and precise. You also have with this unit the foot control, and so when you toggle the second switch away from manual mode, again, we keep our reverse capability. You can see while the motor is going, you can reverse it. Very handy. The other thing worth noting is this is not just a foot control. This is an incredibly precise foot control. I typically don't power wrap because start of wraps is too hard, and I find that it doesn't save me that much time, but this thing is so precise and gives you so much control along with the ability to reverse it. It's a very, very useful wrapper. And so if you were to buy this and add it to any form of supports or rod rollers or build your own, you'd basically have a complete lathe on which you could wrap or finish for well under $300. I recently built a Thrasher Raw 8106 for a guy who wanted under wraps on his guide wraps, and here you can see this actual unit power wrapping the under wraps. And then you have the convenience of as soon as you finish wrapping your under wraps, you don't even move the rod with the exact same unit, either using the foot control or not. You can then turn around and apply your finish, and then when you're finished, are done, I should say, applying your finish, when you've completed application of the finish, you don't have to move the rod. You can literally leave it in the same place and turn the speed down to low speed to let it rotate and cure. It's an unbelievably versatile piece of equipment. And so here you can see the guides actually wrapped with this machine and finished with this machine, retrofitted, if you will, onto my Renzetti lathe. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of the Renzetti. It's by far the best wrapping lathe ever made. But this foot control is actually easier to use and more precise by virtue of being a DC motor than even the Renzetti lathe. So, power wrapping with this unit is a viable option. So let's talk about the chuck for a second. These motors feature flex coats, what they call the self-adjusting chuck. And by buying different diaphragms, and they'll make you any size diaphragm you want, and they're very easy to switch out, you can move from a bare blank that you might be finishing, like this tiny little 1/4-inch hole, to a heavy-duty offshore rod that will fit in this chuck. And so, if you think about a lathe chuck or a heavier-duty chuck, sometimes you might look at these and think, they look a little bit like a toy, but the fact is they are extremely effective. I've never dropped a rod out of one of these chucks, and they hold securely enough to power wrap with. People sometimes sleep on flex coat and underestimate their equipment, and I don't know if that's because they have kind of plywood furniture look to it, or that it seems not high tech. But their equipment is very, very high quality, and everything I've ever used works. In my time of building rods, I have tried literally every drying motor out there. And here you can see the Fuji chuck on a FlexCoat 6 RPM drying motor, which is what I prefer. And here is the original motor I bought from Cabela's in May of 1995 when I first started building rods. It is still in use and has never failed. Every other motor I've ever bought has crapped out. FlexCoat also has a lot of really good instructional videos. They tend to be pragmatic and very simple, but they work, and I think they're worth watching. These videos are available on their site at flexcoat.com, and they also have a YouTube channel where they feature the How We Do It series of techniques. And again, nothing fancy, but everything works and everything has been proven over time. So if you've never checked out any of their educational materials, definitely worth taking a look. They also make a number of other things, like I don't know how I would survive without their Arbor Pilot bits, but they make a lot of equipment. It is all extremely high quality. It is all built to last, and it's all, in my opinion, very fairly priced. So check it out. As we've talked about before, it's really important to me. I don't get any consideration from FlexCode or from anybody else for the products that I review. I want them to be unbiased and honest. And so in that spirit, if we were going to be critical of this unit, what would we say? And the reality is I can only come up with one thing. And there it is. Just the noise. Compared to the unit that costs twice as much, the GM200, it is much noisier. But at half the price with all the features, to me that's worth it. And oh, by the way, when you dial it back to finishing speed, it's quiet. Only when you're running wide open that it's noisier than the original. So all in all, just an amazingly versatile, well-priced piece of equipment. And I highly recommend it. If you're one of the people that reaches out and asks me all the time, how do I get a 200 RPM finishing motor? This is the simplest path I've ever seen. And you can go with either this variable speed DC gear motor or the dual control unit. They're both excellent and they're both extremely high quality and at a high value price point. So hope this helped. Appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.